Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Krisler's Combos. I am here today with, say, an old friend. Uh, we have been friends for a while now. So, hey, Kristen, how are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for joining the conversation about health and functional medicine. I'm really excited to talk with you.
I know. I'm excited to share with you. I feel like you've kind of been on this journey with me from when I first tapped into where I am now. So it's
Yeah,
probably 2 years ago. And then I've been at it for a solid year consistent. So,
that's awesome. So, before we talk about your health journey specifically, tell everyone who you are, where you are from, and what you do.
okay. So my name's Kristen McCory. I'm from Connecticut. Krisler and I actually went to high school together. And I now do interior design. McCory Interiors is my business. Um, oh, sorry, I have to turn my ringer off. Someone's calling me. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. My past, I I was a athlete. I was a professional basketball player. I played in high school. I went on and played for Syracuse University and later in Europe and back here in the States shortly before I retired. So my history, I would say, with staying in shape, nutrition, working out was what I considered to be very solid, and I felt like I knew everything. And then as you age, you learn differently. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
why I'm where I am now.
Yeah, for sure. So you were playing basketball and I was on the sideline cheering for you.
Yes, you were.
So I do feel like it's been a while since we really started first talking and kind of throwing out different questions and looking into different supplements and regimens and all these different things. And so let's kind of take a step back and talk about um, what kinds of things did you start noticing about yourself that you were like, yeah, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. This isn't right. Like, what kind of just
I
started you
think
thinking, I need to change something?
the number one thing was my weight, to be completely honest. And not to sound like, the girl who, I need to be lose weight and be thin and feel good, but it was getting to the point I was doing everything I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. I'd always known how to do it. I dealt with a million nutritionists and workout and did everything from, you know, different types of programs, keto to fasting to isogenics, you name it. I had done it. I had researched it. I had understand it. I had worked with a million people. I had personal trainers. You name it, I did it. I knew what worked for my body. I knew how to get results. I knew how to do it fast. And at some point, mid 40s, everything just stopped working. I could eat healthy lettuce, chicken, almonds, um, fruit, vegetables, and working out every day, lifting weights, and I was just packing on the pounds. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. That's how it started. I kind of summed it up to my age.
Mhm.
Um, and then it kind of went further. I
Yeah.
started getting anxiety, which I never in my life have I had. I started, waking up in the middle of the night. I was sleep deprived. I was having brain fog, all the things you hear. It was very frustrating. I didn't feel right. I was very, not to be gross, but mucusy. I was coughing all the time, but I wasn't sick, which drove my husband nuts. And my hair was thinning, you name it. It sounds like premenopause, but I'm not there yet, believe it or not. So all these little symptoms were happening. And I
Mm-hmm.
would go to my doctor and I would tell them, and they would do blood work and tests, but nothing. They had no answers. They would just put me on an anxiety medication. I'm like, but I don't feel like it's anxiety, but it's not anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was always something, and I just didn't know what to do. And
Yeah.
um, I was trying everything, and everything was failing. Or I would lose weight, 10, 15 pounds, and I would plateau, and I wouldn't go beyond the point, and then the weight would creep back up, even though I continued to do the same thing. So there was no reward at the end of all of my hard work. Uh,
Mm.
and I felt like crap. I mean,
Yeah.
I think,
I bet
I
there
just
are
felt like
so
crap.
many women who are listening to this and they're like, yep, that's me. That's me. Totally get it. That's me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've heard so many women say this same exact thing. They hit a certain age and it's like, oh, all the brain fog comes in and, they walk into the room and they can't remember why they went into that room. And I think we spend so much time kind of blaming it on age or making a joke out of it, right? There's all the memes that go around the internet, but that's not normal.
It's
Like
not normal, but
it's common, but it's
correct.
not normal. And so I really appreciate you sharing all that because I think women really need to hear this. They need to know like they're not the only ones dealing with it. And there are things that can be done.
Yes.
So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Um,
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the things that you discovered about, what was going on. First, I guess, where did you even start looking to try to find an answer?
Ironically, I didn't. Um, I was, I wouldn't say I wasn't looking, but I was reading a lot online.
Mm-hmm.
I was like trying to find what I thought were supplements, but they really weren't supplements. I was looking for something to make me feel better. Uh,
Mm,
and I just remember talking to a good friend of mine uh, who had just moved down to North Carolina. And she had told me about her friend who had extreme eczema and a bunch of other things going on, who saw a wellness doctor down there. And this person, like, fixed her friend within like 3 to 4 weeks by changing diet and supplements and basic things. So she was
mm-hmm,
in the process of taking her children there because they were on their way to college. They were having their own issues. They were having anxiety. They had some other health issues. So she had just started working with them for her children, and she saw
mm.
results with them. So she was like, "Give them a call." And at that point, I was so beyond desperate. I was like, I don't even care. I don't know anything about these people. I don't even know his name. Give me the number. I'm calling tomorrow. I called the next day. I set up a meeting, an appointment the following week, and I basically was like, I'm in, let's do this. And it was August 8th, 2022. And I'm still at it, and I feel absolutely amazing. And my
That's
life has
awesome.
changed. All my issues and all my problems they're gone. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
That's
there's more that pop
amazing.
up on occasion, but I the process and the journey I've been through has been so educational at the same time. And it wasn't, we attacked each thing individually, not at once. And the whole purpose was getting to the root of the problem. So in this journey, I've learned so much about my body, and I'm so much more in tune. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the point where I'm in this maintenance mode. So yesterday, I actually had a call with my doctor, and he was like, "What's going on?" And I'm sharing with him, and he's like, "Well, what would you do?" And I'm like, "Well, personally, I feel like I need to go back on my ashwagandha and maybe take something else out of the equation." And I was telling him what I would swap, and he's like, "That's exactly what I would have told you." So through this journey for the last year, it's not only saved me, but I feel like I've learned a lot, and now I'm in tune with my body. So I understand my needs and what my body needs, so that when the time comes, they're always going to be there for me, but I can manage this on my own, which is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love hearing that because when I work with clients, it's the same idea. It's not for them to be dependent
Right.
on me, but it's to guide them and walk with them through this struggle and this difficulty to help them um, have that same self discovery,
Right.
right? To have them build that self awareness so that as they continue on through life, they know, they recognize when something is starting or when maybe they had a little too much or not enough or whatever, and they can make those adjustments. And of course, as you said, as their coach, I'm always here,
Right.
but it doesn't have to be that dependency thing. It's so empowering
It's very
for
empowering.
them. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell me, um, what would you say was the difference between talking to this doctor versus talking to your conventional medicine doctors that you had seen in the past?
Um, I feel like my regular doctors were scraping the surface. And even though I love my, you know, main practitioner, he's amazing. But I think they're only allowed to do so much based on insurance and what is covered, and they're
Mhm.
never going to push you further. That they scrape the surface and they would check for the basics, and then they come up with whatever they feel, and I would get prescribed something.
Mhm.
Where this was, it was an education and a journey. So, um, based on what I told them, they very much are like, okay, here's our steps. First thing we're going to do is a food allergy test, and there's millions of them out there, but they had explained to me how different ones do different things. And a food allergy test can be foods you're allergic to instantly,
Mhm.
and it can be foods that affect you in 7 days, and it's foods that affect you up to 21 days after eating them, which I never knew. So I did a blood work on that to figure out, what that issue was, which is very interesting. Um,
Mm.
and then once we got through that and we addressed that situation, we went on to do a Dutch test, which is a hormone test. Uh,
Mm.
Same thing. That was life changing for me. Um, so all these little things, their whole purpose, these tests they're doing is to get to the root of the problem, because it's never an issue of your thyroid. The thyroid is controlled by whatever else, which is linked to this, which is linked to that, which all goes back to the liver, ironically. Um, for me, it was all about being in adrenal fatigue. My estrogen was incredibly low, my cortisol was high, as far as hormones were concerned, but the adrenal fatigue alone was killing me. Within, I would say, 1 week of taking supplements, I was sleeping through the night. And uh, by 3 weeks, I felt like I could run a marathon every single day. It was absolutely insane. By
Mhm.
3 o'clock, I had drive. I was, still going, still going, still going. It was just amazing. And everyone around me was noticing. I think that's the best part, is that when
Yeah,
people who see you and know you, but they don't know what you're doing,
right. And they're
come to
like,
you and they're like,
happening.
what's going on? They're like, your
Yep.
skin looks great. What's going on with your hair? Like,
Mhm.
they noticed the weight loss. Um, there was a million things they noticed. My confidence alone. They were like, "Wow, you're standing tall. You feel good." Like that. That was the one thing that really kind of kept me going too, was to see random people that see me daily that didn't know
Mhm.
take notice on what was happening.
Yeah.
Um, and the food allergies for me were very interesting, because I was eating extremely healthy, and almost 90% of the healthy food I was eating, I had high sensitivities to, which were causing all my inflammation. So when
Yeah.
that came back to me, I was like, I'm the pickiest person in the world, and I don't even like a lot of food. And now you're removing the few items that I actually eat. What am I doing? Like, I'm gonna starve. But I figured it out. And that, again, within 3 weeks, the inflammation was gone. I don't cough anymore. There's no mucus. There's no getting up in the morning and feeling stuffy. I don't think I think I've been sick. I was getting sick probably 3, 4 times a year,
Mhm.
like hardcore sick, where it was like, should you go to a hospital? Do you have COVID? Um, but it was just the inflammation in my body. I don't
Hmm.
think I think I've been sick once in the last year, and it was like a simple head cold that disappeared in like 3 days. Um,
Hmm.
so those things alone were huge. Um, Once we
Yeah.
figured all that out, we moved forward to my gut health, and we did a stool test, which was very interesting too, because I learned that I had too much good bacteria in my stomach, in my
Mhm.
intestines. And what was happening is it was keeping me from absorbing all the protein I was eating, which was something I would never, who would think? Oh, I have too much good protein, good bacteria. Like I wouldn't think that. Uh,
Mhm.
so that was a big one too. And we made changes, but every single one is like, it's very interesting in the journey because we've done it one at a time to
Mhm.
see the change and feel the change and pay attention to my body and to know what's happening,
Yeah.
how to fix
Yeah.
it.
I love that you talk about, just that step by step approach and how methodical the practitioner has been with you. I find that people get really overwhelmed when they start thinking about all the possibilities, right? They get the test back and they're like, whoa, especially when you get something back like the Dutch test, which
Yeah,
you're like page after page. There's so much information, right?
yeah.
But but yeah, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing thing. You don't have to do everything at one time. Start with one thing that's really, something that either you're most comfortable with or maybe just the most pressing issue. Start there and move forward with some consistency. And the other thing I think is that, you've mentioned you've been on this journey for a while now, right? Even when you started seeing this practitioner, it's been a year since you started, and it takes time. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. And so, yeah, so that's awesome that you've shared that as well.
And I think I get annoyed, I'll be honest, because I look at everyone around me and there's so much out there and everyone's looking for the fast turnaround, like the instant
Hmm.
gratification. Oh, I need to lose this much weight in the next week. And it's like, okay, are we talking about a short-term discovery here or are you looking long-term? And I think, I'm hitting 50. I'll be 50, in like 6 months. And it's scary.
Hmm.
And it's like, I need that longevity. I'm looking to the future. Um, and I want to be consistent and I want to slow down that process of aging or
Hmm.
whatever I can do of being healthy. My One of the things that kind of set me on this journey is my family's heart history. My father has a horrible heart history. He had a triple bypass at 48. He had an aortic aneurysm at 53, died on the table 4 times. They brought him back. I mean, this man is like a cat. He just keeps going through everything. I could go on and on. If you heard it, you would be like, oh my God. But knowing his heart history and his father's heart history and his father's brothers and sisters' heart history, and that they all pretty much died of aneurysms and heart aneurysm by the age of 60. Like, I'm right in the middle of it now. And
Hmm.
I'm an older mom and I want to be there for my child. So, right now, ironically, I just went through the final stage of this journey was like, okay, we fixed your gut. Let's do a final detox and let's get rid of anything we can to really start totally fresh. So I had gone
Hmm.
through a detox process, which again, you hear detox, people like, oh, are you drinking fluids like for 24 hours? And I'm like, no, I'm eating an enormous amount of food, like
Hmm.
nonstop all day, but it's all from the earth. And I'm not eating any like processed food and sugars. So, but in those days with all the toxins coming out of me, I had some odd effects.
Hmm.
Some of them were in line with a heart attack. So I had actually thought I was having one. And I spoke with my doctor. He's like, go off the supplements and you need to go see your doctor immediately. And I went to see my doctor. And you get nervous. I'm like, he's going to judge me. I'm going to bring all my tests to prove. Like, I'm not a kook. I'm not in some, like, you know, cult here. This is a thing. They've done the work. And when I showed him everything, he was like, "This is incredible." He's like, "I wish I could have provided this for you." And
Mm.
he said, he asked what supplements I was on. I told him, and he said, "And you went off of them?" And I said, "Yeah, we just want to be safe." And he's like, "Absolutely not." He said, "Get back on those. This is amazing for brain health. This is amazing for your heart. This is great for, your hormones." He's like, "Get back on those immediately." He's like, "This is not the problem." Um, and he's like, "We're going to go through the process of getting tested," because I used to get tested just because of the family history. And when basically insurance changed, they started denying all my tests. So it's been 10 years. So now the last 2 months, I've been doing, stress tests, the dye test, all these things. And actually on Tuesday, I meet with my cardiologist who's going to review everything, but everything looks great. But it's nice to have a nice baseline now. But to have my practitioner like follow up and like back my wellness doctor was like,
Mhm.
thank God, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of eye rolling out there and
Yes.
things have changed. Um, and you need to, yeah, I truly believe in getting to the root of the problem. It takes
Yeah.
time, but long term, it makes the most sense, and you're gonna be able to hold it longer. So,
Yeah, that is awesome because you are so right. There's a lot of, um, there's a lot of misinformation. But, I do think there are folks out there who are doing really amazing work. They are providing the evidence, they are doing the research, they have hundreds of clients or patients that are experiencing the benefits of doing things that are not the money makers,
right.
right? They are working to improve their sleep. They are getting out into the sunshine. They are moving their bodies. They
Yes.
are eating more whole foods and less processed. And, they're working on their relationships. They're going to counseling. Like they're doing these things that aren't the big money makers.
Right.
And so, it seems very woo woo or out there or whatever. And so, unfortunately, that holds people back because they have a fear of being judged or, a fear that maybe their practitioner is not going to see them or run a test. And, that's really just very unfortunate because um, there's so many good things that can come out of just taking basic steps, very simple things, and being consistent with those things.
Yeah,
So that's awesome that your doctors
in
are
line with
both
me.
supporting you that way.
And it's great because the wellness coach, even though he's a chiropractor, homeopath, even though I'm working with my main practitioner too, they coincide with doctors. They have their own
Mhm.
cardiologist. It's not like he's just out there randomly. He went through, schooling and studying for all of this. So
Yeah.
that's another thing I find. There's a lot of chiropractors getting into this and they're getting poo-pooed on like, "Oh, you're going to a chiropractor for that." And it's like, yeah, I am. And it's saved my life.
Yep.
After battling for 5+ years of like no answers. So
Yeah.
um yeah, it's interesting. um yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, looking back to how you were before and how you are now, what would you say, are some of the biggest changes you've noticed?
um Confidence. I know that sounds silly, but my confidence is like, i feel like I feel like me for the
Mm.
first time in 10 years. I feel like me, the person I was, in my 20s and my 30s, when I was on top of the world, like living life and loving myself. Like I'm back to that. There
Mhm.
was a long period of time where I found I didn't even realize I was doing it, but I just didn't even I hated myself.
Mm.
I was disgusted by myself. I wouldn't even look in the mirror. Like I'd put makeup on and I'd leave and I'm like, I don't even remember what I look like. Which is it's sad, I'll be honest. And women do that in general. So this has helped me in that in with that. Sleep. I mean, I make sure I get, 8 to 10 hours of sleep every single night. Um, I make sure I move, like you said. Just everything, my whole well-being, my energy uh, is through the roof. And another thing I mentioned I might talk about, which people might think I'm a woo-woo, but I've been going to a shamanic energy practitioner for
Mhm.
probably about 30 years. But I would say in the last 2 years, 10 years, but like really hardcore in the last 2 years, I've kicked it up a notch. And that has been uh kind of life changing too. Um,
Mhm.
and I think because the woman I go to, her journey, she has grown over the time that I've been with her. And now she's at such a higher point with her information and her energy and what she gives to me. It's kind of, we were just talking about this the other day. Um, what she gives back to me and my energy. And by saying energy, I don't mean like, oh, I can last throughout the day. I mean like the force, the energy that I give off to people. People are
Mhm.
coming towards me, which sounds silly, but like people are very much drawn to me. People are asking things of me. People want to be around me. I feel like people are like, they want to talk to me.
Mhm.
They want to share with me um constantly, which is, I'm like, okay, what, okay. It's kind of strange, but it's I feel like it's because of the energy that I have.
Mhm.
And again, the confidence. So
Yeah. Yeah. And how would you say this has affected you as a businesswoman, in your design business, and just how you interact and just your day in general?
I think I would say, well, number one, again, I'm more confident. I had an insecurity for a while just because of, the change in my physical presence.
Mhm.
I happen to be in an industry where, it's very luxury per se. So you have to hold up to that side of the game.
Mhm.
But just talking with people and understanding them and hearing them, hearing their stories. I do interior design, I design people's homes, and I'm not just going into a house and just selling them furniture. Like I sit down, I take time to get to know them, their relationships within their family, what they're looking for.
Mhm.
And I think because I have that energy and I'm calm and I'm receptive to them. Um, it helps me. It helps my business. It helps um, their trust in me is huge.
Mhm.
I mean, just this morning, I've had like 4 clients text and call me, nothing to do with design, just wanting to share their day, or one just had a baby and she just sent me a picture of her newborn from the hospital, because we built that relationship.
Mhm.
So I would, yeah, I think just the energy and the confidence and being real. And there was a point too during pandemic, I think we all were going through stuff. And especially in our industry, people are spending a lot of money. And people got a little uh, cuckoo and a little, I'd say, abusive. And, nobody's going to die over a pillow. That's what it's my main line. No one's dying over a pillow, but you'd be shocked at how people would come at you. And I think the way I would respond to them in the past, because I'm a people pleaser, I would go home and I would suck in their energy and take on the negativeness, and I would make myself crazy and I wasn't sleeping, and I would do everything in my power to fix a problem that wasn't even a problem. Um,
Mhm.
so by responding to them differently, and being more calm and being more on the same level as them has
Mhm.
has changed drastically.
Yeah. And that's huge, because when you take on that negativity, man, it just weighs you down, and then that has ripple effects in other areas of
Right.
your life. It has an effect on your sleep, it has an effect on your digestion, it has an effect on your relationships, right? It starts to trickle out into the other spaces of your life. So yeah, that's huge when you are able to make that shift.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's awesome that you have built such great relationships with your clients.
I love my
Um,
clients.
yeah, that's cool. So, so what would you say to, the busy working mom who's like, you know what, I'm just gonna deal with it. Like it's rough. I'm sure it's age, or, all women just gain weight when they get older, whatever. What would you what would you say to her?
Put yourself first. Take care of yourself. Honor your body, honor yourself. Don't ignore what you're feeling, because
Mhm.
if you're feeling a certain way, there's a reason for it. And you need to listen to yourself and pay attention and take care of you first. I know it's hard to do because I didn't do it for years. But when you start doing those things for yourself, everything around you tends to shift. And it's either going to stay with you and grow stronger, or it's going to leave you and it probably wasn't meant to be with you to begin with. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, it's important. It's important to put yourself first to some degree, especially with health.
Yeah. Yeah. Wise words. I wholeheartedly agree. Well, Kristen, I appreciate you sharing your story and telling us about your health journey. I'm sure this is going to help so many women to hear that from you. So, and people might be interested in knowing a little bit more about your design business. So, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram. It's at Kristen McCory, and my business is McCory Interiors. Um, yeah, that's check me out there. My website's connected. I have some exciting things coming up in some big publications, so keep your eyes peeled on the newsstands. And yeah, check me out. Reach out
Cool.
to talk, share
Yes.
about
I
the
will
brand, about
drop that
wellness.
information in the description of the episode so everybody can know where to find you. So, again, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. I'm super excited to be able to share you with my audience. And I'm excited to see what fun things are coming down the pipe for you.
Thank you. It was great seeing you too.
Yeah. All right. Well, for those of you that are checking out this episode, make sure you give us a like and comment what you took away from today's conversation. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the convos. Until next time, I'll see you. Bye.
Bye.